I love to do that with people. If people are having issues with a certain person or a certain environment, the best way to remedy that situation has always been for me to just take my attention away from it. And 99.9% of the time, it'll solve itself. You know, either you'll get a resolution that you love or you get one that you don't love, whatever, but it's gonna come to a resolution. Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jameelah, and I am a master manifester. Today, I'm coming to you live from my living room. I'm trying a different space because I was like, maybe I do want to kind of relax when I talk instead of sitting straight up all the time in one of the chairs. And it's kind of gloomy today, and I'm not getting all that amazing bright light that I normally get through the window. So I was like, let's try something different. Nonetheless, what I want to discuss today is going to be along the lines of action steps. A lot of times we hear that manifesting and law of attraction is one of those passive inquiries. Not necessarily passive, but it's less about what you actually do. And I think that's not completely the case. In my experience, it's been intentional action. So action that is not driven out of fear, that is not driven out of discomfort, action that has a full positive intentional aspect related to it. That's going to be one of the biggest things that I notice when it comes to action steps, right? So I put together 5 action steps that you might want to take in order to see your manifestations blossom in your lives, right? Number 1 is going to be visualizing deeply. And God, this is kind of a lot of labor, because for you to sit down and think about it, if you know anything about Neville Goddard, he talks about this a lot with imagination, and how sitting down and thinking about your manifestation and seeing yourself in the position of receiving it, seeing yourself creating it, seeing yourself having it in your life, seeing yourself enjoying it. Like if you were to be a best-selling author, right? That was something that was on my mind for so long. And you say, what will my day in my life be as a best-selling author? So you're supposed to sit down and sort of visualize your day-to-day with the under the idea that this thing has already happened in your life. So how would that change your life, and how would it look any differently? And so if it's something that you really choose and want, then you could see that it doesn't change. Sometimes it doesn't change a whole lot about what your day-to-day life would be, but it does change how you feel about yourself in the day-to-day life, and maybe some of the business interactions you might get. You might visualize yourself getting a phone call from an agent if that was something that was in your best-selling author. Maybe the contract is something that you could that you would be looking over or something like that. Ooh, something on the screen. Another thing that you can do is definitely meditate frequently. So a lot of times, people just, meditating is something that does not come easy for a lot of people. When I don't have large swaths of time to put towards meditating, because I could be doing this, I could be doing that, or I need to work on this, I need to work on that, because I have quite a few things going on, and then I need to give the people around me attention and acknowledge them, and not get so caught up in the things that I have working on, and then make time and space to do things with my children and my partner, making sure that we all still know each other at the end of the week. One of the things that I like to do is meditate frequently. So if I see myself having about 10 or 15 minutes of time available during the day or throughout the day, I'll be like, let me grab a 15-minute meditation, right? That's kind of just like to hit the reset button. And so I'll meditate more frequently, and I'll notice that it puts me in a much more grounded and positive position throughout the day. When I'm not doing this, I see clear results in my life. I let things build. I get irritated and annoyed by the smallest things. And I'm just like, have you been meditating? And it's like the further you get away from it, the easier it is not to do it. And then I can clearly see how it is negatively impacting my everyday life to not take that time. And yet sometimes I still don't do it because it's been so long. So in order to try to stay away from that pitfall, I find that meditating frequently is definitely an action step that I put into place to put myself into the receiving mode, to put myself into gratitude, to put myself in a place where I can have space between me and then my thoughts. I'm not one with the thoughts, and then I'm not reacting to the thoughts and being the thoughts all day. I can be like me and like, what are these little dumb thoughts showing up in my head? I can get some space there. That's very important. Another one, number 3, is submerge yourself in a project. So if you're really focused in one area, a lot of women, a lot of people, not women, because I talk to men too on a regular basis, they're very focused in their personal relationships or dating or sex or some level of intimacy or commitment or something along those lines. And when you're obsessed with something and consumed with it, that's like the fastest way to push it into another direction, right? You can't even really interact with people without, bringing it up or having a conversation about it. And those things are wonderful and fine, but you have to understand, like, what is the place that these conversations are coming from? What is it that I am, thinking about when I am bringing the subject up to other people? So one of my biggest ways of combating that, when I know that I am not positively focused and I'm obsessed with a subject matter and it's not in the way that I want to do it, the way that I want to feel about it, I turn my attention to something else and I get heavily involved in another project. That's kind of like one of the best things to do, because I can say, okay, I do puzzles a lot. That's something that I love to do. Usually nothing less than 1,000 pieces, because I like it to keep me busy. And if I'm really focused on something maybe negatively, I'm focused on something that I can't wait for, I'm focused on something that I want to see happen, but it's not happening exactly the way I want, or I need time and space to think. That's one of those things that I get involved in. I'm like, oh, let me go buy a puzzle. And if anybody around the house knows me, I don't really finish a puzzle until I have a new one already on deck, because I hate to be without a puzzle to do. And so that's something that I always dive into. Now that I've gotten, a really, really fun career happening, I'm enjoying what I'm doing, I get to do a lot of design work. That's a good space for me to go into when I'm battling, when I'm just, facing down something else in another area of my life. I can come to the other side and go, let me just deal with this right here. I love to do that with people. If I'm having issues with a certain person or a certain environment, the best way to remedy that situation has always been for me to just take my attention away from it. And 99.9% of the time, it'll solve itself. Either you'll get a resolution that you love, or you get one that you don't love, whatever, but it's going to come to a resolution. I have teenagers now, and sometimes they come home in these funny little moods, and it's just like, I don't know what happened. I don't know what I did you. Maybe I didn't do you anything. I used to care enough, like push myself into the space of, oh, what is wrong? Let's fix it. What happened at school today? Did something No. And you know what? I learned this from men. I learned this from watching my partner interact with his own children. I learned this in that way. He's like, okay, if they're not feeling it, he just walks away and does his little life. And eventually they come around. I'm like, oh my God, sometimes women and mothers, we just try too hard. And so I would just be like, well, they're not into me right now, and I'll go do something else. And then an hour and a half later, someone walks up to me and like, can I get a hug? Sure you can. And I think one of the biggest testaments to this, the last time this went on with this kind of funny acting towards me, and I don't know, I didn't do anything. Is it me? Okay, well then whatever. It probably was about 2.5 days before one of them cracked. I was like, I'm not playing those games anymore. I'm not going to come in there, try to figure it out and try to make it blah, 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 blah. Turn your attention somewhere else, and more than likely that other situation will solve itself. And that works very, very well for me in so many areas of my life, right? Because what deserves a lot of drama and negativity, attention, or what deserves attention of feeling scarce and not like you're not gonna get it. Like anytime you're dealing with those feelings, just turn your attention somewhere else. You just forget about it. Anyway, number 4 is constantly feed yourself with affirming information. So these are real specific action-oriented tasks that I would get into. Feed yourself with something that is very affirming for what it is that you want, right? So say you are thinking about it correctly and it's not something that's consuming you in a negative way. If you need affirming information and there are any environments that don't affirm for you what you're looking for, then don't do it. if that's what's important to you, right? I find a lot of people when they want to, okay, if they want to create some level of money or abundance into their lives, that's a big deal for them. They won't spend a lot of time and energy in environments or places that create or inspire a scarcity mindset. And that makes perfect sense, right? Because it doesn't affirm what they know and believe in the world. I think sometimes we get used to environments, we get used to people and places, and we feel comfort there, but it doesn't really speak to affirming some really important things that we know about who we are and where we're at in life, right? Like, I'm a huge believer in everybody has the right to feel how they want to feel about anything they have going on in their lives. They have the right to live the way they want to live. People have only been in charge of other people since as far as we ever know. A lot of people believe in God entities, but a lot of people do not. There's so many ways to view and see this world and live and create the life that makes you feel good, that sometimes when you're in places where people have really specific or narrow visions about how they see life, you find yourself defending really basic things about what you just feel to be true. I find I like environments where people are like, hey, you're you, do you, that's what you love, then be that, right? Where you're not in a position to where you feel like you need to defend any ideas about what you want to do and where you want to go and how you want to live your life, right? So if it impacts you in such a deep way that it is affecting something that you're trying to manifest or is making you feel like what you're wanting or what you're living or how you want to see life is less than, then check yourself out of the environment for some times, take a beat, go find something else to do. There's so many options when it comes to that. I find that actively affirming what it is you want to see and experience and envision in life is so much more powerful, especially when you get to middle age. You want to make sure, okay, if I'm a religious person and I decide that I'm very religious, I am a Christian, a Muslim, a Jew, Jewish, whatever, Hindu, whatever. If I'm going to decide that this is the lifestyle that I'm going to live, and that when I get in environments that contradict this lifestyle, it doesn't feel good because I'm still building in that area, then I'm going to take myself out of those environments until I'm strong enough and solid enough to be in environments where I know people don't feel the same as I do about a lot of issues, but yet I can still communicate with them, be emotionally intelligent, and be an adult. One of the funnest things when it comes to this sort of situation, when you've been affirming something for a while and you know how you feel about it and it's a positive thing, is when you get in environments and you're suddenly tested and you didn't even know it was coming. And you're just like, wow, I was ready for that. And I felt good. It's like, yes, I might have had to defend myself. I might have had to, share why I felt a certain way about whatever, but it felt good because I know that what I'm living and what I want and who I am and what I'm creating in this specific moment in time, this present idea that I have of life and what it has to offer is enough for me. And it's so nice when you don't feel like, if someone is not affirming it, that it's not good enough. So I find in order to create that force field, that shield, that beautiful space to where you can go into environments that don't always affirm what it is you want to see or be or live in the world, is to start creating those spaces, magazines, pictures, listen to YouTubers, find that nook where everything works in that way. And you can start creating a really good, strong sense of self in those environments. And then so when you go back around, family who may have a broke mentality or something like that, and you have an abundance mentality, it doesn't affect you because you're just like, I believe in abundance. I'm not here for that today. I don't need my abundance reaffirmed here because that's not where I'm going to find it. What I'm here for today is to show love and to be connected to my family because I care. And that is all, right? So you have to just keep that in mind. That one went on a little bit long because that's really big to me, affirming your information and being clear on who you are and what you want and not worrying about if there's 1,000 people doing it one way and you're one person that wants to do it differently and you have the opportunity to do it differently, then do it differently. It's fine. It's fine. Number 5, last but not least, is close necessary doors. When you're manifesting and trying to create a positive environment for yourself, I find that we have a hard time closing doors that are necessary to close, right? I have one right now that kind of needs to be closed. And it deals with my career and the environment and the people, and I enjoyed it and stuff. But sometimes you have to close those doors so that these new doors can open all the way up. It's like the universe created it to where in really specific areas of your life, areas that feel the same spiritual place or the same mental space, if you have a door creaked open like this, the last door, you can only open the new door up to this degree. It's weird and it's interesting that they say it's like, your financial abundance or whatever, your financial mindset. If you are trying to build financially one way and you still have a bit of a broke mentality in another direction, if that door is only closed like this much, then the door of abundance can only be open to the same degree. So it's like, when you completely close that door to the broke mentality or the non-affluent mindset, then the abundant mindset has the ability to open all the way up. That's just my little take on it. I've seen that play out so many times in my life with relationships, especially too. You're asking for a really specific type of connection with a man, or you're asking for really specific types of friends, or you're asking for really specific types of interactions with people in the workplace. Until you close the doors in the places where you're not being fed, and you don't say, I'm just going to settle for this because this is what is available. Until you're willing to walk in the wilderness, until you're willing to be alone and to not have, anything happening for yourself and not create anything that's not from a positive space, the other door, the new door, won't open up all the way for you, right? And this doesn't mean getting rid of people. Sometimes it's a new level in the same friendship. Like, I've had friendships that are really, 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 really old. Like, especially one that I've had, oh my God, I think I might have met her when I moved to Dallas many years ago. I think we've been friends now for like 15 years. That's one of the longest adult relationships I've ever had, as far as, we've seen so many people dating come and go and all. And like children, no children. Now we both have children. It's like we've seen that. Mortgages, no mortgages, career, PhD, working on that. And so we've seen all these phases of each other. And there were times when our friendship just dipped, right? Like, I didn't hear from her, she didn't hear from me. And then it kind of came back together. So now there's a new level that's being established, but it's only because I believe that we were willing to close some doors on how the old relationship was working. Because there might have been times where I was more advanced in one area and then she was more advanced in another area, and those things sort of switched. A lot of times with relationships is people don't let other people go into the new space because they like the way the old way worked so well. And this happens with family a lot of times too. If you have sometimes it's, older siblings or different things like that. If you were always in a position of needing them for something or feeding off something that they had to offer you or teach you, if you're not in a position where you need to fed and be taught the same ways, that you've advanced ways in lives that they could take some note from. A lot of times in some relationships, parents, siblings, whatever, they don't let it happen because they can't just see you in a different space. So closing the necessary doors for relationships and environments that are not working for you anymore, I think is so important when it comes to speeding up your manifestation. So I thought it was a good idea to share some action steps, because a lot of times we get a lot of foo-foo, we get a lot of woo-woo, and we get a lot of, think yourself into this and feel good. And it's like, okay, well, how can I actively take action steps? Someone asked me that yesterday. They were dealing with something, I forget what it was, maybe anxiety of some sort, because I dealt with anxiety for a lot of years. But people really are interested in what specific things, tangible things did you do in order to get on the other side of that. So one, I visualize deeply all the time when it's something that I really, really just want to enjoy before I get it. I meditate frequently. I make sure that I'm meditating frequently throughout the day in order to hit that reset button all day, and it keeps me in a good place. I submerge myself in a project. I take my attention away from that thing and I submerge myself into another project, something that equally excites me, but in a different sort of way. I constantly feed myself with affirming information, and I get out of places where I'm not affirmed, where I'm too weak. I'm not strong enough in those areas yet So I have to remove myself from a place where it's not being affirmed, because I can be pulled in the other direction. So I stay in affirming places. I make sure that I do that. Videos, pictures, people, environments, I make sure that. And then I close all necessary doors that need to be shut. Some things are left open too long. It's like having clothes in your closet that needs to go to the Goodwill. Just take care of that. Get that out of your life. Get that out of your space so you can bring in a whole bunch of new stuff. I can honestly say in this past year, I've gotten rid of so many things. I consider us to be minimalist, and luckily my partner is in the same direction too. He loves it. We are always giving something away, way more than the stuff that we actually bring into the house. So that's pretty cool. But I will say today he sent me a picture of a flower pot, and he knows I have a plant issue. And I'm just like, I can't say no to flower pots, but I actually said no to it today because I'm like, I just got a new flower pot like, a week ago from him. And we're up to about 15 pots in this house right now. And so I want to be divinely led to the next plant that I bring inside our home. And so, you even have to limit the things sometimes that you love, right? And so anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day and week. And enjoy your manifestations. Enjoy your life. Feel good in the stuff that you have chosen. And be happy and free. Until next time, have a wonderful day.